Let's listen to the verse number 61. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
وَإِن جَنَحُوا لِلسَّلْمِ فَاجْنَحْ لَهَا وَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ إِنَّهُ هُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ.
And if they tilt towards peace, you too should tilt towards it, and place your trust in Allah. Surely, He is the all-hearing, the all-knowing.
So verse number 61 is insisting upon Muslim to find a peace treaty with the non-Muslim. Why the peace treaty important? Because during the peacetime, Muslims are allowed to visit and share our Islamic knowledge, our Islamic traditions and the heritage and the beliefs, and that made the dawah easy. So the whole purpose of peace treaty is to make a peace so that we could communicate with the people and have the no war, so that people could hear and see. Sometimes Muslims get disadvantaged during the treaty, and as long as the peace prevails, I think Islam is the one which we understood is that Islam does not want war. It is the war is a preemptive or preventive, and only for the one cause, not to gain power and might, just to have the strength so that people could hear the message of Islam. As Islam is a da'wah, it's not a mission. We are not missionaries. We are da'i ilallah. We are the inviter toward Allah. We are not forcing to people to be Muslim. La ikraha fid din. There is no compulsion in faith. So the whole purpose of peace and war is for the sake of Allah, for the mankind, for the humanity, for the children of Adam. Listen to the verse number 62.
وَإِن يُرِيدُوا أَن يَخْدَعُوكَ فَإِنَّ حَسْبَكَ اللَّهُ هُوَ الَّذِي أَيَّدَكَ بِنَصْرِهِ وَبِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ.
If they intend to deceive you, then Allah is all sufficient for you. He is the one who supported you with His help and with the believers.
وَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِهِمْ لَوْ أَنفَقْتَ مَا فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا مَا أَلَّفْتَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِهِمْ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ أَلَّفَ بَيْنَهُمْ إِنَّهُ عَزِيزٌ حَكِيمٌ.
And united their hearts. Had you spent all that is on earth, you could not have united their hearts. But Allah did unite their hearts. Surely, He is Almighty, All-Wise.
Yeah.
So verse number 62 and 63 is talking about Muslim unity and the Arab unity, which was a very difficult task. For centuries they have been living disputed and never been united, and by the mercy of Allah and the blessing of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah brought the Muslim together. And today we see that about 58 to 60 countries are Muslims, and Muslims love for each other, and we look up to each other, and we protect each other, and we do best we can. We don't want to talk about today's government situation, which is everybody knows what's going on in Muslim countries. Listen to the verse number 64.
يا أيها النبي حسبك الله ومن اتبعك من المؤمنين.
O Prophet, Allah is sufficient for you, and the believers who followed you.
يا أيها النبي حرض المؤمنين على القتال إن يكن منكم 20 صابرون يغلبوا 200 وإن يكن منكم 100 يغلبوا 1000 من الذين كفروا بأنهم قوم لا يفقهون.
O Prophet, rouse the believers to fighting. If there are 20 among you who are patient, they will overcome 200. And if there are 100 among you, they will overcome 1000 of those who disbelieve, because they are a people who do not understand. Now,
الآن خفف الله عنكم وعلم أن فيكم ضعفا فإن يكن منكم 100 صابرة يغلبوا 200 وإن يكن منكم 1000 يغلبوا 2000 بإذن الله والله مع الصابرين.
Now Allah has lightened your burden, and He knew that there is weakness in you. So, if there are 100 among you who are patient, they will overcome 200, and if there are 1,000 among you, they will overcome 2,000 by the will of Allah. Allah is with the patient.
So these two verses have a little bit clarification needed, which is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first commanded Prophet to motivate Muslims, to the believers, to rise up fighting for the cause of Allah. And if they are patient, they will overcome 200 among them. If there are 10 Muslims should be overpowering. In other words, 21 Muslim versus 20. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you are patient, and 100 will overcome 1,000, 1 to 1,000 ratio, which is shown in many battles, as we see the Battle of Yarmouk and the other battles where Muslims are only like 30,000 versus 100 to 200,000 of non-believers. So they actually overpowered them. And then also Allah says that we find that you are not as strong in your faith in the fighting. So there's some weakness among you. So that 100 among you who are patient will overcome 200. So 1 to 2. So 1 to 20 to 1 to 2. Or 100 to 1,000. So 1 to 10. And so 120 to 1 to 10 and 1 to 2. So this is what is shown. And just to understand that a believer fight to seek either martyrdom or to be is called Ghazi or Shahid. When they die, they are in martyrdom. If they live, they are among the Ghazi, the one who survived for the cause of Allah. So they are not fighting for getting their self-glory or their national glory. They are fighting for the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's glory. And if a person embraces Islam, that is their brother in it. So when Muslims army came out in front of the Persian army, and the king, the general of the Persian army said, you Arab, you are the hoarders and Bedouins. What do you want? Because they were most advanced civilized army of their time, so as the Roman. And they asked Khalid bin Walid, what do you want? He said, we want you to free your nation from the bondage to the humanity, to the bondage of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We want them to become slave of Allah rather than slave of men. And he said, we love death more than you love for your wine. In other words, just an expression of this thing. And when the Romans were fighting with Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu, the Roman general said to them, a priest came to them and he said, okay, if you believe in your God is the true God, then drink the poison. And Khalid bin Walid told everybody, I'm going to do it. And he said, Bismillah, and drank it. But he commended before he drank the thing. He said, I want you to understand you should not do this, because you have to have a firm belief in living and dying in the name of Allah. And the poison didn't hurt him. In other words, a person should have a belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala of the point where a poison will become a no harmful thing. It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's listen to the verse number 67.
ما كان لنبي أن يكون له أسرى حتى يثخن في الأرض تريدون عرض الدنيا والله يريد الآخرة والله عزيز حكيم.
It is not befitting a prophet that he has captives with him unless he has subdued the enemy by shedding blood in the land. You intend to have the stuff of this world, while Allah intends the hereafter for you. And Allah is Almighty, All-Wise.
لولا كتاب من الله سبق لمسكم فيما أخذتم عذاب عظيم.
Had there not been a decree from Allah that came earlier, a great punishment would have overtaken you because of what you have taken.
This verse 67, 68 explains the situation when the captives came in the battlefield with the captive prisoner of war in the Battle of Badr. there was a question because they were relatives, they were uncles and cousins and nephews and sons and fathers. So it was decision was whether should they be killed or should they be taken money and released. And among them, there were those who could not do anything. They did not have money or they could not do anything. So Prophet ﷺ commanded those poor people that they should teach 10 Muslim children how to read and write, and he freed them. That was one of the punishment. The second was Umar, and I think, and Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu's suggestion was Umar wanted to kill them. And Abu Bakr said, oh, well, Messenger of Allah, have mercy on them and take money and release them. Prophet ﷺ took the advice of Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and this Quranic verse was revealed. And actually important thing to understand that prior prophets were commanded, whenever you capture people who are disbeliever, kill them. There was no money and there was no release for that. The Prophet ﷺ is given this relief because the Prophet and his companion decided about it. So they took the money and released some of them. And this has been a most unique prisoner of war punishment, that they were taken no money, nothing, just to teach 10 Muslims. So this is how the education and knowledge is such essential in Islam. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, had it not been decided before for the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the Muslims and the Prophet, then Allah wanted their blood to be shed. Allah wanted them to be killed, enemy to be shedding blood in the land. You intend to have the stuff of this world, while Allah intended to hereafter for you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to kill them and die in the path of Allah. Do not take anybody and leave them alone. And this is why Allah intend the hereafter for you, and Allah is almighty and wise. And had there not been a decree from Allah that came earlier, that Allah has forgiven this decision and accepted it, Allah would have punished the Muslims for letting the enemy go alive. And this was a very harsh decision. You could see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showing his displeasure, because Allah is the creator of everything. So Prophet is a mercy for all the world. So he now commanded that, okay, so eat and the spoil of whatever you got, lawful and pure, and fear and conscious of Allah, be conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Listen to the verse number 69 and onwards.
فكلوا مما غنمتم حلالا طيبا واتقوا الله إن الله غفور رحيم.
So, eat of the spoils you have got, lawful and pure, and fear Allah. Surely, Allah is most forgiving, very merciful.
يا أيها النبي قل لمن في أيديكم من الأسرى إن يعلم الله في قلوبكم خيرا يؤتكم خيرا مما أخذ منكم ويغفر لكم والله غفور رحيم.
O Prophet, say to the prisoners in your hands, if Allah knows any goodness in your hearts, He will give you something better than what has been taken from you, and will forgive you. Allah is most forgiving, very merciful.
وَإِن يُرِيدُوا خِيَانَتَكَ فَقَدْ خَانُوا اللَّهَ مِن قَبْلُ فَأَمْكَنَ مِنْهُمْ وَاللَّهُ عَلِيمٌ حَكِيمٌ.
And if they intend to commit treachery against you, then they have already committed treachery against Allah, and in turn Allah has given you full control over them, and Allah is all-knowing, wise.
So verse number 70 and 71, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding to the Prophet after being relieved from the decision of that ghanim is whatever they got from the booty money or whatnot for the freeing the prisoner of war. Allah says, then eat it, it is halal for you, and whatever is halal, use that food, and be conscious of Allah. Indeed, Allah is all forgiving and merciful. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is directly commanding to Prophet, Ya ayyuhan nabiyyu qul liman fi aydikum min al-asra, those who are prisoner in your hand, what you have captured in the war. إن يعلم الله في قلوبكم خيرا, had Allah known there was a good in your heart, يؤتيكم خيرا, He would have given you better for that. مما أخذ منكم, وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ, whatever has been taken from you and would have forgiven you. This is the story about his uncle Abbas. This is when he came in. Allah says that when he had found the goodness in you, Allah would have given you the Islam. As I mentioned earlier, that Uncle Abbas is the one who's in his honor this ayah was revealed, that Allah made him very affluent, respected and honored. Wallahu ghafurun rahim, indeed Allah is forgiving and merciful. وَإِن يُرِيدْ خِيَانَتَكَ فَقَدْ خَانَ اللَّهِ. As Allah has intent, if they or the prisoner have intended to commit treachery against you, then they have already committed treachery against Allah. So it means they denied Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is a treachery. مِن قَبْلُ فَأَمْكَنَ مِنْهُمْ. So then turn towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, give you full control over them. So it means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying whether you free them or you punish them. Yes, you have a permission for doing that. Wallahu alimun hakim. Indeed, Allah is all knowing and all wise. So these are the verses which are telling us how to deal with the prisoners of war. So Muslims now, after this revelation, are allowed to take money and release them. As we know, prisoner exchange program and all those things happen in the prisoner of war. And this is allowed for the Muslim. Listen to the verse number 72.
إن الذين آمنوا وهاجروا وجاهدوا بأموالهم وأنفسهم في سبيل الله والذين آووا ونصروا أولئك بعضهم أولياء بعض والذين آمنوا ولم يهاجروا ما لكم من ولايتهم من شيء حتى يهاجروا وإن استنصروكم في الدين فعليكم النصر إلا على قوم بينكم وبينهم ميثاق والله بما تعملون بصير.
Surely those who believed and emigrated and carried out jihad in the way of Allah, with their wealth and lives, and those who gave refuge and help to the emigrants, both are close friends to each other. And those who believed and did not emigrate, you have no friendship with them at all, unless they emigrate. However, if they seek your help in the matter of faith, then you are bound to help, except against a people with whom you have a treaty. Allah is watchful over what you do, and
so this is a very important verse to understand. When Muslims who were in Mecca, this is the time of Prophet's immigration, and there were people who were Muslim and immigrated from Mecca to Medina, so that Allah says those who immigrated and those who helped. Nasaru is the Medinites, people of Medina. They are known as Ansar, and the Muhajir are the immigrant from the Mecca, those who struggle in the way of Allah and with the wealth and with the body and with their lives. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the path of Allah, they came in. So those are brothers to each other. And at time in the beginning, before the revelation came for the inheritance, actually the immigrant and the local Medina people, they were made brother and they would inherit from each other. But after the law came in for how the inheritance was to be, which we will be reading in Surah Nisa, that time this thing was abrogated, this ayah. So this is one of the things about it. And those وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَلَمْ يُهَاجِرْ, and those who are believer but they did not immigrate from a non-Muslim land to the Muslim realm, مَا لَكُم مِّن وَلَايَتِهِمْ. As for you, it is not obligatory to help them unless مِن شَيْءٍ حَتَّى يُهَاجِرْ, till they come to immigrate. وَإِن تَنْصُرُكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ فَعَلَيْكُمُ النَّصْرُ إِلَّا عَلَى قَوْمٍ بَيْنَكُمْ وَبَيْنَهُمْ مِيثَاقٌ. And if you have a treaty between the Muslim and a non-Muslim, and a Muslim living in a non-Muslim country, you have a treaty, that peace, so you cannot do physical war help because you are in a peace treaty, but you can help those people with their other matters like education and knowledge and Islam and practicing. So this is something very important to understand, that when Islamic state is established, a Muslim should immigrate to the Islamic state. But today things are so murky and so different, it is not possible. So it was that time this ayah was revealed, and many of those things are today not practically applicable. Let's listen to the verse number 73.
والذين كفروا بعضهم أولياء بعض إلا تفعلوه تكن فتنة في الأرض وفساد كبير.
And those who disbelieve are friends to each other. If you do not do so, there shall be disorder on the earth, and a great corruption.
والذين آمنوا وهاجروا وجاهدوا في سبيل الله والذين آووا ونصروا أولئك هم المؤمنون حقا لهم مغفرة ورزق كريم.
Those who have believed and emigrated and carried out jihad in the way of Allah, and those who gave refuge and help, both are the believers in truth. For them there is forgiveness and a respectful provision.
والذين آمنوا من بعد وهاجروا وجاهدوا معكم فأولئك منكم وأولو الأرحام بعضهم أولى ببعض في كتاب الله إن الله بكل شيء عليم.
Those who believed later on and emigrated and carried out jihad along with you, then they are joined with you. As for the womb relatives, they are closer to one another according to the book of Allah. Surely Allah is aware of everything.
So this is the end of the chapter Al-Anfal, and this Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving instruction and advice, and which we hear that the blood relations are more closer to each other, and those who immigrated, they are to be helped by those people who are local, and they should be established as the people of Medina did for the other Muslim of Mecca who migrated with them. With this we will stop now, and if you have any questions, inshallah we can answer. Otherwise, next Sunday we will meet to review Surah Al-Imran. Al-Imran is the one which is the third chapter in the Quran. Inshallah we'll talk about it. If there's any question, please ask. Otherwise we will inshallah meet next Sunday.